Welcome in, everybody. Listen, it's good to see you guys. We're back in the ideal of the blueprint. Welcome in. Come on in. Listen, fellas, we're excited. We got another episode for you, another opportunity for you to grow. Listen, you know our deal here is this: is that the blueprint is for men. We want to empower men in the areas of relationship, finance, and leadership. We want to be able to build for this generation and the next one. I'm your host, Dr. Dave B. Mills, married 34 years, passionate about 29. Literally got a family of 5 incredible millennials, and I've been blessed. And I want to help you as in the ideal of understanding what manhood, relationship, leadership was really about. And so we believe the word of God gives us a blueprint to do this. We want to build for this generation, for the next one. And the way we do it is through that word. We want to bring you in. And what we do is this. Number one, we give you a bi-monthly podcast here on YouTube. Go ahead, hit that subscribe channel. And when you hit that, it'll be bring these men into your life every other week. New men from all different backgrounds to encourage you, build you up, and give you some wisdom about how to live. They'll give you the equipment and tools to build your life with, literally a blueprint. So what we want to do is that, not only that, but we also have quarterly in-session and in-person seminars that we have trainers, leaders, business owners, pastors, teachers, influencers from all over. We get together, come in, and empower men in every area and background of life. Along with that, we also have our Facebook page as well as the Instagram page for the brothers to be able to catch up and be able to get some encouragement, get some strength, and continue to build with. So I want to welcome you into another episode of The Blueprint. Today we got another great leader with us, and he's going to be encourage you, build you up, give you some great insight. It's none other than Mr. Dr. Aaron Bass. He's the CEO, without a doubt, at Eastside Charter School. We're glad to have him in and excited that you're with us, Doc.
Glad to be here. So I'm gonna get my intro. Married for 20 years, working on 34 to my college sweetheart, and been in education for 29 years.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm glad you already did that part, man. But I'm excited about also the other parts about the chief executive coaching piece that you've been doing. I want to put that out there for you in case other people need that and need those things in the idea of their background. Along with that, an avid biker. I'm praying for you on that health thing, man. I can walk 4 miles about 3 every other day, but I cannot do that bike thing yet. I'm going to grow into that. All right, I'm gonna grow into that. All
right. 20 miles this morning at 5:30 this morning. 20 miles.
Ooh, you're a bad man. You're a bad man. You got that. You got that. Listen, I want you to help me with some couple of things because you're doing some great things in both the community, schools, and with your family. And I salute you on that also. But I know without a doubt, man, the coaches that are coming up behind us need some wisdom and some insight. And I'm trying to do my best in that part, be able to leave it out there for them so they can get that. When you look at the culture and look at it around us as far as society, when you look at manhood, what do you see? What do you see going on?
I think we have a lot of work to do. There's great examples of men around us. And so I don't want to besmirch all men because there's brothers like you, brothers like me out here doing this work and leading young people and leading older people. At the same time, I think there's been for a long time in our culture a market saturated force that is trying to produce what people might think is an ideal version of a man, but is not being a father, not being a leader, and not being somebody that's responsible. And so the more we're able to show those examples, the better off we'll be. And so I think even about the work we're doing here in Riverside, the reason I love being here is our young people get a chance to see some very positive Black men. So they see me, they see Logan Herring, who's right down the street with Reach Riverside. They see Marquivas with Nerded Now right across the street. They see brothers like JJ Francis, and they see Alex Hackett out here, our councilman. So there's a lot of incredible Black men out here doing this work, even our parents and our staff. So you can be around some positive Black men, and these are men that you can look up to. Because a lot of times where I grew up in West Philadelphia and in Germantown, the people that stayed on the block that might have had money weren't the people that you want to be like. And the brothers that were getting their doctorates and the brothers that were working to get their bachelor's degrees and working 9-to-5 jobs, a lot of them just moved out.
Yeah.
And so if you're left with only examples of dudes that might be making $30,000, $40,000 a year doing some negative work, but they live with their mom, they got some cool sneakers, they got some cool clothes. And that's not just what we need to be showing our young people.
I think that you said a lot there in the idea of just even that environment, how that plays such a role in the idea of the impact of our mindset. I know for me, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was actually born in Philly. I was born in Mercy Hospital in Philly. I don't know if you know where that is. That's way back in the day. But anyway, I was born in Philly, raised in Chester, but I grew up in the projects in Chester. And same thing here. The environment was really a monster that we picked up. That was like, this is different, but it was only one I knew. And so I became more of a consumer and carnal kind of person rather than conqueror, rather than understanding that, you know what, I'm actually called to cultivate. I'm called to cover somebody, be a king in my community. And if I don't hear that or don't see that, I'll miss out on it. And I think the greatest accelerator for a young man is a father, it was a mentor, a leader, a pastor, a coach, or somebody. But if we don't have that, how do you think we can make up those gaps in the ideal of young men's lives?
I'm actually writing a book and talking about my own life. But one of them was, so my father left when I was 7 years old, left my mother, my brother left us in West Philadelphia in a row house there. And I think that might have been the better move for my life. And so Romans 8:28, we know that all things come together for the good of those who love him. And so in a call according to his righteousness, by my father leaving, I was able to then find other men to mentor me. So my pastor, David R.L. Stevens, was one of those people that spent time like building me up and other young men in our church and his own family. My Daryl Johnson Sr., who was another brother that would pull me aside. Ken Aldridge, who was a teacher at Germantown Friends, where I went to school on scholarship. It's the same Ken Aldridge who is now head of school, Wilmington Friends. Wow. Was one of those brothers that pulled me aside when I was younger, and I'm searching. I'm trying to figure out how to become a man, but I was able to pick and choose the men I wanted to be like. And I still do that. I'm still surrounding myself with incredible people. So Judge Charles Tolliver, who will pull me aside and tell me off a couple of times, but I buy into those that are trying to build me up.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is huge, and I think it's being able to buy into it and be able to have the humility to receive it. I think that's major. Not walking in pride and not walking the ideal of our own selfishness and the ideal of thinking that we know everything, but knowing that I don't, and then a humility. And I think what you said was major too. All things do work together for the good of them, but then it's also a piece where I think that for me, I know it was what frustrated me became what God called me to be an answer for. My dad, my mom. For all intents and purposes, I'm gonna put it this way: my mom was with somebody else's husband. All right, so that was just the drama from the get-go. But the lack of him created a passion for me to be what he wasn't. So it wasn't, and at first it was anger, but then I realized it was actually for me to become the answer to that same anger. That literally say, okay, whatever was left with me, I didn't grow up with him. He wasn't around. He wasn't there to nurture, care, cover, none of that kind of stuff. But that put a burden on me to, when I do mature, I want to be able to raise a family. I want to be able to be there as a husband. I want to be there as that. And I think I did a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in Chester. Okay, I got to about 8th grade, and I was fussing with my mom, and she sent me across city to the other side of Chester to live with my uncle. Now he was the first man I ever saw spend 2 days in the same house. All right, it confused me, Abbas. I was like, "What is this? Why you ain't leaving?" He's like, "I live here. This is my house." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Wait a minute. What is this paradigm? You know what I mean? What does this look like?" And so from that day forward, he gave me a picture. Didn't go to church or anything, but he was just committed to, "I'm gonna be in this house, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna be a husband. I'm gonna be a father." And for the first time in my life, I got to watch an African-American man stay in the house, stay with one woman, and take care of his kids. And that revolutionized that it could be done. It could be done. And that thing kind of challenged me because the hood had only told me to lust women. They didn't never teach me how to love them.
Yep.
He taught me that catch a girl, get a girl, but not keep one. Not build a family, build unity, build a legacy, and build a destiny. And teach me all those kind of things. The barbershop in the corner was cool, but it was not giving me a future. And that reality came when I did get saved and Christ came to my life. Then as you did, I went to this men's fellowship, man. These cats were all older, all right, but they were all wiser. And they could hold a family down. They knew what it was to be able to be a cover to a family, love one woman, and what it meant was to love her mind, heart, and her spirit, love way beyond anything I ever known. And so it really built something different in my heart to say, you know what? Yeah, it's some people out here doing some great things for the kingdom of God, and I want to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And that helped shift some things, even for my world, of what that was. The next one, man, is when it came to that. This next area is What do you see is going on, one, with relationships in our culture, man? In the ideal of male, female, in the ideal of relationships between how's that is working with families, how's it working with the relationships? What do you see?
Oh, you ask some good questions. I think a couple things to it. We've been tricked into believing that your mate will complete you, and that we are incomplete people. So
Mhm.
it's interesting in Genesis. The math is that the two will become one. So a man and woman will come together and be one. In the Hebrew, it's also about the completion. So it's not just about the two people; it's two incomplete people come together. And a lot of times you will find that so Jerry Maguire was a movie back in the 90s and said, "You complete me." And so we it's part of our culture that there's something wrong with me and I need to find this spouse or this mate to edify
Mhm.
me or to try to make me feel like I am complete because I'm still lacking in something. And the problem
Mhm.
is when you bring two incomplete people together, they just incomplete. Two people at 20% or 10% going to produce a life that's 10%. But when you have somebody that actually is whole, and so
Yeah.
for me, it's just been that. So having God in my life, having God in my wife's life, is very helpful for us because then I'm not trying to complete myself with somebody else. And then when I'm at my low, I have my mate, my partner that can build me up because there's going to be times I'm just not there.
Yeah.
And the same thing for her. So I'm able to, we build each other up. But we have to get back to what is it that makes you whole as a person before you can engage in building relationship. You can't build a firm foundation if the work you incomplete, the shaky ground.
I think
So
that's so good. I think that's so good in the ideal of realizing that. And I think that sometimes because they're on the hunt for somebody else to love, they never even found out how to love themselves.
mhm.
And it's the ideal of I don't even know my gifts, my calling, my anointing, my value, my purpose. I don't even know that stuff. I was so busy chasing, I wasn't becoming. And I think that that challenge of is to become who you're supposed to be in that season of singleness, in that and bring that wholeness. And I think that single does mean unique, whole, and complete by itself. So I'm not looking for somebody to complete me. I am that. And Paul even picks it up in 1 Corinthians 7. He talks about the ideal that, whatever state you're in, it's a gift. This is my gift. But when I was single, that was a gift. When I'm married, now this is a gift. But both sides are a gift, and restoring that value, that worth, even the dignity of who we are as people, to be able to understand that value of who we are, but then also understanding who Christ made us to be operating as kingdom people with purpose, with value, with wisdom, with understanding, and didn't be able to love somebody. And I always tell the brothers, I found out what love was when I found out what wasn't my name. He told me, love my wife like Christ loved the church and gave
Mm.
himself for it. I found out my name ain't in that verse, Bass. All right. My name is, he didn't say, I never asked you to love her like David.
Yep.
Because David's gonna have days he ain't got it. But if you love her like Christ loved the church, that means I got her infirmities, her insecurities, her inadequacies. He loves her unconditionally. What now? No, I didn't understand that. I was like, now wait a minute.
So I would build on that because there's also scripture talks about love and respect. So
Yeah,
the men should love their wives, women respect your husbands.
yes, sir.
And at the root of it, what I found, because my wife and I did a study on this with some of our church people,
Sure.
my my wife needs love.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible instructs very clearly, I need you to love your wife because that's the oxygen that she needs.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife will so I've seen some ladies will get into an argument, have different types of fight, but they have huge love for each other, and that's what keeps them together.
Yeah.
For men, we bond off of respect.
Yeah.
So if I told one of the brothers I'm with, yo, I don't love you, all right, we just move on. But if I told one of those same men I don't respect you,
Mm-hmm.
we might go to blows
Yeah.
because the respect is what men are based on. And so
Mm-hmm.
when uh, the other part of this is that when I feel my wife doesn't respect me, then I don't deny her respect, I deny her love. And then she in turn then denies me more respect. And so we're going back and forth because I'll break it down even more. My wife enjoys time together. She doesn't need the accolades. She doesn't need the gifts. She doesn't need, like, that's nice, and I will do those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I might get offended if I gave you a gift that I worked hard for,
Mm-hmm.
and then I present you with this gift, and you treat it like nothing. You don't respect me. But my wife is more like, no, I want to spend time with you. I enjoy the relationship, and I enjoy the love that we have together.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn that men and women are different, and that's what the piece about the relationship is that you can't treat your significant other like your homies. And a lot of times we get in these relationships, and you'll find that men are treating women like the other dudes in their life, and women are treating the men like they're supposed to be the other ladies in their life. And truth is, we're very different people, but we have to make sure that we're one, being whole and complete, and two, that men are understanding how to love their wife, how to love their spouse, and women also need to know how to respect the man, because you'll find that there's a lot of times that men feel emasculated.
Mm-hmm.
And the root of that is they feel like they're not being respected.
That's right.
So then how do you build that relationship up without that understanding?
I think that's one of the great. I think is a great trauma in our society. To tell the truth, that you can go from first grade to a doctor and then take a class on relationship. Man, now you're gonna take HR, you're gonna take all the other stuff, but you ain't gonna take how do I love a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? How do I love this woman? How do I love every part of her, not just one part of her? You know, all the complexity of who she is. Like the idea of you were saying, the idea, what is her love language? Understanding what she needs, what she wants. I know for me, I messed up early, Dr. Bass. My mom's love language was service. And so she long as somebody was serving, because she was single parent. So anything I did looked like love to her. So if I washed the dishes, took care of stuff, it was wonderful. My first year of marriage, man, I messed up and I bought Pastor Burn a wash machine. All right. I knew you were gonna laugh. Don't I was ignorant. Let's pray for the brother. All right. I've grown a whole lot since year one.
Nice anyway. Wash machines out there. Nice wash machines out there.
So listen, my wife was like, what is that? I was like, oh, I thought. She's like, no. I'm quality time. I need time. Mm-hmm. So henceforth, Mondays with the meals. All right. So now we invest that time, like you said, we find out what is love to them and give them love, unless I become selfish and try to give you the very thing I need. I need gifts, but she needs quality time. So I sow into her quality time. We're gonna make sure we take this time out, date night, date day, whatever it is. Now that we're 34 years in, we can disappear for a day. All right. But making sure that she gets that time, gets my heart, my voice, and my words of affirmation into her life, and is giving the other person what is love to them, not being selfish in that. And I think the difference of it is when we come to Christ, He teaches us how to love, that unconditional love, and that love that gives effort, that gives investment, that gives commitment, that gives loyalty, and that dies to make it live.
Agreed.
Oh man, so help me with this one. This is the next area, man. I need some support with, help with for the brothers when it comes to this area of finances, man. Finances. What do you see going on in the culture? And then how did you learn? How did you learn?
I'm still learning. But again, I think it comes back to wow. So for us, it's the image of what is success. And the image is driven by a capitalist structure that wants you to spend all your money to then look like you're doing something that you're really not doing. And so, I mean, if you want to get real deep, we can go back into, if you think about how in Africa, in the 14 and 1500s, the technology and the skills in West Africa, so especially in Ghana, is even with that was taking place in Europe.
Yeah.
But there's a man who wrote about it called Sir Walter Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
He writes a book called How Europe Undeveloped Africa. Incredible book. But in this book, he talks about how African leaders would get some imported fabric.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were able to stand out from everyone else around them because y'all have the local kente, y'all have some local fabric. I just got this silk.
Right.
I might have some metals and things that y'all don't have.
Yeah.
And so there was this constant quest to get other alcohols and things. So the transatlantic slave trade, we already had alcohols in West Africa. I've enjoyed some Pito. I've enjoyed some Apodici. I've enjoyed some other stuff when I was in Ghana. At the same time, we already had alcohol, but I got this imported rum. And so now I'm different than y'all, and the constant next level, I'm flossing, I'm on this next level. We search for that. And then we also happen to find that because we get attention, then I can also get other ladies because I stand out, I peacock. I'm different than the men around me. And so it's this constant quest about trying to get and trying to look like we're doing something, not really doing it. And so I listened to a podcast of Marshawn Lynch, who is beast mode and an incredible running back and a Super Bowl winner. And he never talked. He was notorious for not talking. And he talks about that on this podcast. But what was amazing was Marshawn Lynch is one of the few football players that never spent his football check in the NFL.
Wow.
He never spent his football check. Wow. And so he learned, you know what? I'm watching other men go bankrupt. So I'm going to rock this Toyota. I'm going to not spend money. I'm going to just, what he said was cheap, but it's the smartest thing because so many brothers get this fast money. And if you go from having nothing to having millions of dollars, you just spend the same way you spent your $5. So we have to learn the discipline of like, what am I saving? How am I trying to prepare for the future? What's my long-term goal? And most of the cats I grew up with in Philly when I was there, and a lot of brothers who were trying to just do some other stuff, I remember like they were so focused on the fast money.
Yeah.
And my problem was I couldn't see the retirement plan from the block. You want to go there and you're working constantly.
I know that's right.
So even Jay-Z writes his book, Decoded, and he talks about his hustling. And he was like, look, when you get into it, the math of it isn't mathing in that you will work for 16, 18 hours a day. And it looks like you're doing something, but you're not flipping that much. You could actually make more money doing minimum wage at McDonald's for 8 hours a day. So he goes through the fact that like, this isn't really it. Jay-Z moved out of culture, but Jay-Z benefited from that culture through the lyrics.
Oh, yes.
And what's amazing is that what's sold about Jay-Z wasn't economics that he was doing. What's sold about Jay-Z was the drug culture, the drug life, and what he glorified. But Jay-Z stopped doing all that. So we have to get to a point of getting real about what is it that, how are you building legacy? How are you making sure that you can be in a different structure than what you grew up in? My kids have passports. My kids leave the country every year. My son got it. A teacher didn't believe some of his stories about where he had been because he was doing this thing in social studies. He's like, no, I've been to these different places. She didn't believe him because her expectations of what a black man should be doing were so low.
Yeah.
So one, we had to tell the teacher off. Two, I enrolled my son at my school because I said, how dare you not have high expectations for my child?
Yes.
At the same time, I'm also working on his legacy. So he doesn't deal with the struggles I had to deal with. And my hope is that my children's children are better off because of that. And we just keep building. But that's when you start doing more in the black community. And it's also about, look, I might have some fly sneaks, but understand that was on a discount. I ain't paying full price for nothing.
I know that's right. No, I love it. I love it. I think it's so good. And I think the challenge for me was financial literacy. It just again something that's not taught. I don't know why. I think the greatest trauma to our society is that we don't teach you how to relate, we don't teach about finances, and we don't teach you how to parent. So you enter in the things that you're gonna do for the rest of your life ignorant. But anyway, all right. So the idea is the challenge of it for me was I grew up in poverty, so I thought like you said, brothers in my neighborhood, they was coming up with stuff, but only the fast money, and it was the materialism. But the materialism was really was an issue of acceptance and insecurity. You know what I mean? Because everybody was in poverty. You ain't had nothing but a car. So if you had a car, you was the big shot. Why? That's all you had. But we didn't have the mentality. We didn't have the mentality of stewardship, of management, of ownership, of rulership. We didn't have none of that kind of stuff. And when that wasn't introduced to me until I got saved. And then when I got saved, beginning to learn what that meant. What was the streams of income? What was it? Would it come out of poverty? And not only come out of it, help other people come out of it and go back. I know for ourselves, we do about a 4-week intensive on financial literacy every year of our ministry. So we go from everything from breaking out of poverty to balancing stewardship to going into investments, going into streams, going into income, building businesses, setting up insurances, HSAs, IULs. I want you to position your next generation in one generation. But I don't want the next generation to start over. I want them to start further. But I got to have a mindset of generational wealth that goes along with that. And if we're not going to get that from somewhere, and then understanding, some of the practical things of how you use your gifts, how you use your service, how you use your talents that you do have. In our culture, man, we got so many people that got so many gifts and talents, but sometimes they don't even know how to use them and turn them into business. And they're fearful of it. And so it's a lot of different. Go ahead.
So I would also add that I think that's great, but the root of it is also, can you delay your gratification? So it's great to do financial literacy. I think everything you're doing is spot on, but also, are we building people that can say, I don't need to do Uber Eats and DoorDash every day.
No, that's right.
I don't need this clothes. I don't need to pretend like I'm doing this for the gram and I'm off at this beach somewhere and buying on a credit card that I know I can't pay off. Paying interest only, and we not living it. So I think the other pieces, because I'm even working with young people now about, I know you want to cuss this person out. But if you can understand to not just delay your gratification, if you live long enough, I have never seen the righteous forsaken or their seed begging for bread, not one day. And I've seen ugly people be ugly the rest of their life, and God's going to do something to you much faster and better than I could ever do. But if I can get people to understand that, just hold your tongue.
Yeah.
Then we can get to now, how do you invest the money? How do you do this other thing?
Oh, yeah. I think that's huge. I think that self-discipline piece is critical for every piece.
Mm-hmm.
Relationally, financially, mentally, for every piece of our life. If you don't have discipline, you're probably not going to be able to handle the idea of self-gratification. And it's teaching our people how to discipline themselves so they can. And I'm teaching my brothers, hey, listen, if you keep your head down for 5 years with the market, if you keep your head down with 5 years of saving, 5 years of investment, you probably live like nobody else in your neighborhood. Just 5 years. It don't even take as long as you think, but it's like you said, getting that mentality in them of, I can wait. Why? Because in that place of, I was giving the illustration of the talents. He says, hey, he came back to look at them and gave them what they gave them, but he came back to check on, what did you do with that? What did you do with the gift I gave you? What did you give the talent I gave you? What did you give the wisdom I gave you? What did you do with the insight I gave you? What did you do with the things I've invested into you just as a person? Mm-hmm. Now, when I come back, will there be interest on that? Will there be, did you occupy till I came back? He says, occupy till I come. Do business, trade, develop, grow, create an interest and income and investment on everything I put in your life. And if we don't, then we're doing bad stewardship.
We wasted it, yep.
Man. So I appreciate that. Help me with this. This is another one that I want help on, is that when you think about leadership, what is leadership? And then how do you display it? What is leadership and how do you display it?
So I'll take it back to the word you just said was discipline, but I will say that the definition of leadership by John Maxwell is the best one I've heard, which is leadership is nothing more than influence. That's it. Mm-hmm. We have bad leaders. We have good leaders that use their influence either to build people up or to tear people down. And so we're in a political season right now. We're seeing people be torn down left and right, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they are leaders.
Yeah. People
are following them. People are in positions of power. And be real clear, it's on both sides of the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
It would be real simple to just look at certain persons and certain people and be like, yep, that's the enemy. But the problem is we get into this ego piece and people will follow anybody, and leadership is influence. Now, the problem is the people that should be in power aren't always ones that are in power.
Correct.
It's because we have some people that have some great ideas and have some great motivations, but aren't stepping up. And then we have people that are motivated by their own self-interest and ego. And they are running for office, and they are running in the state of Delaware. They are running in states around us. They're running at the federal levels.
Oh, yeah.
And we're losing out. So I do think that leadership is influence. Now, get to the issue we have is about discipline. So you said before discipline, the root of that's disciple.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have learned more and more in education and more in my walk with God is about Jesus had disciples because he had to teach them something.
Mm-hmm.
And very often we have even switched our discipline and the work that I've been doing with different people. Other places is you're telling kids what not to do. You are giving them consequences, but you're not teaching them what to do. You're not spending time building a relationship, trying to explain the why and what how to look at delayed gratification, how to look at the outcomes they can have, even the conversation about the talents. We in education right now have tons of people that in the state of Delaware that will give inputs all day long. And find you a law for every input of what you should put into school, what you should do, everything else. They have reports all day long about the inputs. When I asked them, because you said about the talents, what did you do with it?
Yes.
We ain't got nobody in the state that's even having this conversation. On the federal level, we have the same thing where what'd you do? The black and brown kids failed.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do about that? We're gonna make more inputs, but you don't care, is it even working? So I'm tired of people that are just so focused on trying to tell people what to do that don't do the work. If you ain't in the work, then you ain't doing it.
Yeah.
But can you make people disciples out of people? Can you show them that this is effective? Can you be a leader that is showing people this is leading to a positive outcome? To then have people actually follow you, listen to what you're doing, and those people we should be following.
Mm-hmm.
We following people that ain't doing the work right now. They got influence though.
I think that's so powerful, even what you're saying, because I'm at that season 2 of my life where if you don't have the fruit, the results, the receipts,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not holding too long of a conversation. I'm like, where's the receipts? Do you have results with this? Is there any fruit with this? And if it's not, then I'm questioning some stuff. But because if there should, with the Bible says, wisdom has some fruit, and we are able to measure it whether you have it or not, or you don't. Because I think like leadership, and the idea of my mind is an example. I got to be an example of the thing I'm asking on all levels. I got to be an example of it. I have to have the influence, the impact. I got to be able to build the ideal of helping people to expand, giving people exposure, giving the people experiences. And I'm like you. I grew up without my dad, but one of the greatest things I did for my kids was, well, they was their middle school, did the same thing. Put them on cruises. We flew them to different places, gave them exposure so they would know it's a whole world out here past Delaware. I just needed you to see
and,
it.
and my daughter, because you said you got 3 daughters, my daughter ain't gonna be impressed with your little trip to Atlanta or Atlantic City.
Come on, bro.
She done been to Europe. She done been to South Africa, South America. She done been to Africa. So ain't nothing you gonna do that she ain't seen. But can you come with some substance?
Come on, you have to.
There's a story. I'm talking to some young people tomorrow, and there's a story about Gandhi, which I think is so appropriate. And he talks about the term "be the change" is from Gandhi, and we talk about be the change you want to see in the world. The story behind it that I've been told is that there was this boy that just kept eating candy. He was in this village, just kept eating candy, and the mom was trying to get him to stop eating candy because it was going to ruin his diet. It was going to do a bunch of stuff. It was going to ruin his teeth. Like, she was against the candy, so she was like, "Stop eating candy." And then she finally said, "You know what? You won't stop eating candy. I'm gonna have Gandhi tell you to stop eating candy. And if Gandhi tells you stop eating candy, you'll stop eating candy." So the little boy was like, "Fine. If Gandhi tells me, I'll stop eating candy." They go on this journey to go see Gandhi. It's about 3-4 days to get to the village Gandhi's in. They stand in a long line, and they're there, and they're waiting, and they finally get to the front of the line, and the mother says, "I just need you to tell my son to stop eating candy." So Gandhi looks at the boy, looks at the mom, and says, "Come back in 2 weeks." She said, like, no, just tell him stop eating candy, and then that's it. And he's like, "Nope, come back in 2 weeks." They make the journey back home. They make the journey back 2 weeks later, stand in the same long line again. And the mother then says, "Fine, we are here. We tell us what was the purpose of this just do it." And so Gandhi looks at the boy and he says, "Stop eating candy." That was the story. And the mom is just losing her mind. Look, we done taken off work. I had to deal with the dirt and the shoes and all this work. So tell me why I had to go through all that and wait 2 weeks for you to tell my son what I told you 2 weeks ago. And Gandhi looked at his mother, who was distraught, and he said, "I was eating candy 2 weeks ago. So I had to stop eating candy before I could tell your son to stop eating candy." And the thing we have so many leaders that are not doing is to be the change that you want to see. If I'm not doing it, then I can't tell you what to do. That's why my own children went to my school. My son and my daughter both graduated from Eastside Charter School, doing well in life, because I can't tell you as a parent what to do if I'm not doing the same thing. Any leader anywhere, if you are not bearing the fruit and if you are not testing and doing the same thing that you want other people to do, then get out the way.
Because you become a hazard. You know what I mean? To the truth, you become a hindrance. You become a hazard. You become a blockade, and you become an excuse. Unfortunately, And I think the ideal there is that those are places of character, those places of integrity, those places of honor, the places of humility, all these words that I think sometimes that we don't throw around always in culture that we're in sometimes outside of church, but I think they're necessary for great leadership. I think you gotta have character. I gotta teach you what it is. I gotta teach you what honor is. I gotta teach you what humility is. I gotta teach you those things, because if we don't get those pieces, I think these are keys to the things of the kingdom. And when Jesus says, "Listen, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve." And even though he's the greatest, he comes to me as a servant. Now he's the leader of all the leaders, but he comes to serve. And that servanthood mentality of leadership. I had somebody ask me the other day, we was at Eastside. I was moving some tables. It was like, "You ain't got to move the tables." I said, "Yeah, I do."
Mm-hmm.
He said, you the pastor." I said, "That's exactly why I got to move the table."
Yep.
I think it's foolishness not to be in participation for the vision you want. I think it's foolish. Jesus did the same thing. There's no way, if God can't get a kingdom without sending his son to be a part of that kingdom to deliver it, how in the world? By demonstration, and to be humble enough to hear, listen, and then lead it, and a place of vulnerability and transparency as we lead it. And I think those are huge in the idea of this season.
There's a word. There's a word.
I want to celebrate you for a couple of things, man. I want to celebrate.
My daughter graduated. That's my last one. So she graduated this year.
Wow. So there will be no bad children next year at the school, bro.
It's weird. This is next year's my first time. Except my daughter doesn't drive. She's 13, so she's a freshman. Okay. So she was like, "I'm out. I'm done. You can't drive there. So yeah, you back at Eastside with me. I'll drop you off, but you definitely coming to work."
Come on now. Hey, look, and keep them humble. They keep them humble.
But she gonna figure.
Tell me about this other piece too, man, because this is, I think, what you do with this idea of this biking is major, because I think I'm watching a lot of. Speak to that, man. The value of health as an African American male, man.
So for me, excuse me, I dropped.
You was not supposed to cough right there when I talked about health.
I know. That's why I gotta make sure I sip on my Eagles water to keep me healthy.
I saw that.
Yeah, I think for me it was I had ballooned, and I had to do a few surgeries. So my just heel spurs, real basic.
Okay.
I lost the commitment. So I ballooned up in weight, and then finally had my surgeries, and I was good. And I was like,
yeah.
So, and this my commitment to my own journey has been about 18 months.
It's huge, man.
It's huge, and it's a very mind. I'm healthy for the future.
Yeah.
I grew up in doing the same work, so I'm gonna be out here hustling. I'll still eat.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it, but I'm gonna take me over you, or the. So I'm seeing it. So my son has been working on his own health journey, and so that's huge for him. My wife is now she's dropped 40 plus.
You and you got to do something different. And I want I think. It was for me. Mine was I had an appendectomy, man, and after that appendectomy, man,
I think the nutrition piece matters a lot. So I've done diets.
Okay.
I have consistent. I changed my lifestyle.
That's that right there.
Yep. The food, like even the stuff that when you go out to dine,
yeah,
you're getting fried food. Let me be real clear. Like we're still eating some processed stuff. We got no hate towards y'all, and they'll tell you the same thing, right? We beat ourselves.